Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we have a Super Mario Maker Top Creators and Creations Showcase brought to you by Lair Gaming. Lair does Nintendo-based content, Super Mario Maker, and it'll even give you those retro games in your life. So you need to go and subscribe to Lair if you enjoyed the video and the content, as I do vouch for him. He does have some amazing content. If you are a Super Mario Maker content creator and you want to get out there and you have a unique idea, make sure you guys hit me up over at The Crew Dino and we can definitely speak and talk about it. You know, I really want to help those smaller guys out there trying to grow, and I think the Super Mario Maker community definitely deserves that, and I want to get you guys out there. So if you have a unique idea for Super Mario Maker, you can contact me over there and that kind of stuff. Make sure you guys check out Lair, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of this video.
Hello everyone, my name is Lair from Lair Gaming, and today I'm here on Dino's channel to tell you about 4 of my favorite creators and the creations that they've made using Super Mario Maker. I'm going to start off with music levels by a creator named Kenny the Neo Kid. Music levels can be really divisive because, for the most part, they're pretty boring. But not Kenny the Neo Kid's. His levels are full of challenging platforming, in addition to really cool music, and this helps Kenny stand out from the rest of the crowd in regard to these music levels. Being one of the most popular genres in Super Mario Maker, I believe that Kenny does these better than almost anyone else. There's a fair bit of challenge involved, and that's a welcome addition to these. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit and let you listen to the music as we go into the next room. Now, I really hate bouncing on chain chomps like this normally, but Kenny made this so well. The wave is just perfectly intuitive, and you can ride it out to the end of each track. All of these jumps as well are spaced perfectly. And there's our second checkpoint, and then Kenny gives us this cool little boss battle coming up against a baby Bowser. Most music levels don't feature a boss fight at the end, and that's because most music creators are just trying to show off the song that they've come up with, or the way that they've implemented the note blocks to make it sound perfect. But in Kenny's case, he actually gives us a little bit of challenge here at the end, and allows you to have a little bit of wiggle room as far as like speed running the level and competing with friends and stuff like that. And it makes his levels really stand out, because what this is primarily is a difficult platforming level with a unique soundtrack. And those are the best music levels that you can make in Super Mario Maker. And for that, Kenny the Neo Kid deserves some praise, and definitely deserves some attention. So if you like this, please consider checking out the rest of his catalog. When I was creating this list, there was no doubt in my mind that I would feature this creator. His levels are intense, they're what some might call brutal, and this is Nintendo Addict with Yoshi's Island Cavern Brutal Easy. I'm calling this category brutal platforming for a reason. I know that this level with the star at the very beginning doesn't seem all that brutal, but I'm going to show you after this why I chose to go with that moniker. So I'm flying through here thanks to the star, and you might think, oh, without the star it would be kind of tough, but that kind of ruins it. Well, that's kind of the point. These brutal easy levels are variations of other levels that Nintendo Addict has made. So there's also a regular brutal version of this level. And the brutal version, which I'll show you in a few minutes, is intense. I've spent a lot of time on the brutal version. I don't think that I'm a bad Super Mario Maker player. I think I'm pretty good at it. But I've spent a long time on the brutal version of this level, and I've made very little progress. So as you see with those coins there, Nintendo Addict very expertly uses P-switches in order to force the player to run full speed through some of these really tough platforming sections. So the beginning of the level, you start out and you kind of have to go very slow because you're learning the ropes of the level. but then that P-switch comes out and you know that you've got an objective or something you have to reach all the way across all of those obstacles. And at that point, you have to hurry through there. You cannot take your time anymore. Over and over again in Nintendo Addicts levels, we see this mechanic. We see the P-switch and then a wall that we can only get through while the P-switch is active. And usually, beyond that wall, there's a little bonus for you if you go fast enough. In some of the brutal levels, a checkpoint might even be hidden behind a wall. So if you're not fast enough going through the tough platforming sections while the P-switch is active, you might not even get a checkpoint. In just a moment, you're going to see one of my favorite things about Nintendo Addict levels, and that's this jump. See, I had to jump, duck, and twirl. I really like that. It's a very simple mechanic, and it's not complicated like a Kaizo mechanic would be. It's a basic Mario function. It's not item abuse, and it's not doing something that you weren't supposed to do or something like that. It's a basic jump with a little bit of finesse added to it, and I love that about Nintendo Addicts levels. What it equates to is a level that I always know I'm capable of finishing. Even the brutal versions of these levels, they're just jumps. That's all it is. So even though I have a hard time with some of them, and I may say, oh, I don't want to play this anymore because I'm dying so much, I still know that I'm capable because all it is jumping and occasionally twirling a little bit. In this next section, you'll see even more proof that Nintendo Addict uses the space that he's given in the levels very, very well. Here we have a very simple puzzle with two saws rotating around and one cannon that shoots out bob-ombs. So the goal is to grab the bob-ombs and throw them over to these bricks on the other side to break them. But you have to dodge all these saws, you have to keep the bob-ombs from falling in the hole, and you have to keep from getting blown up by the bob-ombs on the other side. It's very difficult, but it's balanced really, really well. We get another taste of that awesome balance of difficulty here in this room. We have a pipe that throws out bob-ombs, we have two saws that are rotating around the room, and then we have this travesty over here to the right, this huge stack of enemies. And normally if I saw a huge stack of enemies like this, I would think, oh great, this is an awful level filled with enemy spam. But not here. It's used to great effect, and you're actually able to use a little bit of strategy to get through here. It's really, really fun, and it works out to be one of my favorite parts of this level. So next up, we have the Nintendo Addict's signature Yoshi. This Yoshi is going to be so helpful going through the rest of the level. If we're able to keep him, we can walk on top of these spikes rather than have to avoid all of them. However, this whole area is plagued with very tight spaces, and your jumps have to be very precise, very slow, very calculated. And I really, really like that about Nintendo Addict's approach to difficulty. These aren't advanced mechanics, it's just something that forces you to go a little slower and think about everything before you act, and I love that. Oops, we lost our Yoshi, but thankfully Nintendo Addict is always pretty kind and still allows you to finish the level even if you do lose Yoshi. The benefit to having him is that you can finish a lot more easily if you have him all the way to the end. So without Yoshi, we have to do this jump, which is kind of difficult. With Yoshi, we could have just jumped through the saws there in the middle. So that was the easy version of Yoshi's Island Cavern. Here's the brutal version of the same level. I just want you to get a little bit of a taste, but if you notice it has a 0.14% clear rate. I'm calling this really brutal platforming. Immediately, you'll notice the lack of a star there at the beginning. This first section is much more difficult, and you have to really kind of come to a crawl to get through here. I've made it a lot further through this level, but this was my, 10th time playing it, and I just want to highlight how difficult it still is for me. Nintendo Addict is one of the most talented Super Mario Maker players I know, and he has a YouTube channel. Check him out. Next up, we're going to talk about dash levels by a user named Lee12 Games. I think he's one of the best creators in this category for one reason: direction. In a dash level, being able to react quickly is key. And something that's not fun for anybody is having to play a level to a certain point over and over and over again just so you can figure out what to do. Lee does an incredible job of placing enemies and coins and everything just where you need them. He even puts those items in the wall to show you that you need certain items in order to progress. Lee's levels often come down to the timer. And sometimes you'll get all the way to the end only to find out that you die by a quarter of a second. Again, the coins guide us really easily through this level and kind of show us what we're supposed to be doing throughout. As you can see, I've made quite a few mistakes here, so it's not brutally challenging, and we can run through here a few times, and making it to the end will eventually get the time that we want. The lenient difficulty and the coins that guide you through the level make Lee12 one of my favorite creators. Check him out. Last up, we're talking about my friend Bunny. Bunny's made a full Mario game in Super Mario Maker, so I'm titling this portion Traditional Levels. Bunny's levels are incredible. The difficulty starts out really slow and kind of like Super Mario World does. The level's not very difficult. I think it has a clear rate of somewhere in the range of like 34%, but as you go through Bunny's levels, those clear rates slowly start to drop, and eventually you're dealing with some pretty expert level stuff. So Bunny's approach to making his game is to have each world have a certain theme. So our first world is called Buzzy Basin. So we're going to see a lot of Buzzy Beetles as we go through the first 4 levels of the world and then fight the first boss. Bonus rooms are a significant inclusion in Bunny's levels. It gives us the impression that this isn't about just running through these levels as fast as you can, but actually taking your time and doing a little bit of exploring. In addition to this, Bunny's actually updated his whole game every time a significant update has been released for Super Mario Maker. For instance, when skewers were released, Bunny went back through his levels and found portions of the levels that could be redone to include these skewers, and updated all of them, and then re-uploaded all of them in reverse order so that they would be in the correct order on the level select screen. One of the more recent additions are these key coins that I'm grabbing throughout the level. Bunny's actually gone through and added key coins to every single level of his except for the boss levels in order to allow you to have a bonus room at the end of each. It encourages replayability, and it actually gives you some reason to come back and look through these levels rather than just run through and finish it on your first try. Now, to highlight Bunny's whole catalog, take a look at this. This is a huge list. Most of these worlds are 4 levels long and then a boss fight for the 5th. We're going to go all the way to the end to Bowser's Castle Lair and play through it. If you notice there at the beginning, the clear rate on this is somewhere in the realm of about 6%, and it's much more difficult than the levels we started out with. This very, very closely mirrors Super Mario World. The difficulty rises steadily as we go throughout Bunny's game, and it just makes it more fun to replay over and over and over again. Of all the things I enjoy about Bunny's levels, I've enjoyed most talking to him about the design process. This is a guy who very obviously understands what makes a level fun to play versus what makes a level not fun to play. And also what makes a level intuitive versus confusing for a player. Bunny very naturally guides the player through levels. Often there's a hint of linearity in these levels. You know exactly where to go and you're not going to get lost often, but there are some far cries from that in the formula. Several of Bunny's levels, such as the ghost houses, true to form, take a little bit more thought and a little bit more exploration to complete. Again, we don't see blistering difficulty here, but what we do see is something that would be kind of tough for the average player. Bunny himself told me that one of the methods he uses in order to make his levels just right is that he lets his wife play them. And if his wife can't beat them, he retools the level a little bit and tries it again. The approach is really great because his wife isn't a Mario player and wasn't somebody that was raised with it, but has learned to play through Super Mario Maker. So for a kid just getting into this, or maybe an adult that has been away from Mario for a long time, Bunny's levels are going to be a surefire way to get back in the groove and feel like you're actually good at this game again, without having to deal with advanced mechanics that you don't understand, or levels that are just a little bit beyond your skill set. And now the build-up to the final fight of Bunny's game. First I'm just going to waste all these mushrooms, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Then we're going to fight Bowser and Baby Bowser separately at the same time. This is a really fun fight, and it's not one of those over-the-top, 3 triple-stacked Bowsers in a room with Baby Bowsers flying overhead and stuff just flying all over screen and you have to non-stop dodge everything. It's not like that. It's really well balanced, and it actually makes sense to have one Bowser and one Baby Bowser and have a traditional style fight. Now we can take our victory key and finish the level. So what I've just shown you is a very, very small portion of Bunny's catalog. These are awesome levels. I've shown you 2 of about 80 of them that you still have to play. So please, please, if you like the old Mario games at all, go check this creator out. Thank you so much for watching this. I want to give a huge shout out to Dino for letting me do this. I love his channel and I love him. He's an incredible friend of mine. Thank you so much to all of you for watching, and if you want to see more fantastic content, please subscribe to Dino. If you want to see more of me, please come over to Lair Gaming and hit the subscribe button there too. I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much, guys.